I finally bought one this last summer, and I absolutely love it. I'm trying to figure out the size because I had never seen one, actually, except for the picture. So what I did is took a piece of wrapping paper, the dimensions, and we live in a condo, so I put it exactly where I wanted to put it and just left it there for a few weeks to see if that was going to be too imposing in my kitchen, if you can kind of get the idea. It was perfect. And I really it grew on us, and we knew it was going to be fine, and I ordered. Another thing I was a little concerned about was whether there would be noise with the dripping from those elements. I couldn't find that anywhere. And if anybody's worried about that, you can't hear this at all. There's no noise at all. So I was toying between the Royal and the Imperial, and we decided, even though there's just 3 of us, we got the Imperial. And I've never regretted it. We drink more water now than we've ever in our lives. We love this water. So you will just, I would say, go bigger rather than smaller. But that's, my own personal opinion. I know that from the literature it says that you can tell you need to clean the filters when they slow, the filtering system slows down. But I would like to ask you, how can you tell when filters need to be replaced? I haven't found any. I mean, how do you know that they need to be replaced? Is there any way you can explain that?
Absolutely. No, thanks for calling. I really appreciate it. It's good to hear from people who have good experiences like this. I mean, priceless. I mean, I really, really appreciate it.
It's worth its weight in gold. I don't know why I waited so long to get it. It is the most awesome unit. And again, you'll drink healthy, clean, pure water and drink more of it, and it's just great. So I love it.
No, I really appreciate it, because what happens is people get the size that they have, and sometimes they want the larger one. So I'm glad you went up and upped it to the larger one. But I want to get to what you were saying about the how to test, how to know the filters are working. And I've done this test. One of my family members, my sister-in-law, had the Berkey light, the see-through blue one, and we were checking, and the water had changed taste, I believe, or just didn't seem it was working correctly. So she put food coloring, red food coloring, or I did. I put it in the top chamber, and we poured that in at 5, 6 drops, or it made it all red, and it wasn't removing it. It would go right through the system. And she had the black Berkeys for a year or year and a half, and I primed the filters. I double-checked. If I prime them just to see if it would open up the pores. So I primed it, and bam, she's still using that set to this day about a year and a half later. So she's somewhat ready to get new ones, but the best test I have really, besides change of the taste in the water, is the food coloring. Get a little bottle of food coloring red and just pour that in there. And not pour it in there, I'm sorry, drip a few drops in there and make sure if it's pink at all, then you know something's wrong. Then you need to prime them or they need to be replaced. That means they've gone their lifespan. So that's one of the best ways to try.
Is that good to do? I mean, we just got ours in July. Would that be a good test to do anyway, just to make sure everything's working okay?
100% agree with you. 100%, yeah.
So you're saying, and we're just using normal tap water, that we could go easily 3 or 4 years, but maybe after maybe 2 or 3 years, just use that test, and then we can tell if we need to replace the filters.
Yeah, I would even personally do it now if you want. I mean, I invite anybody to do it because it should be taking it out, or then that it's not working correctly. It's a really, really good way. When someone calls and says, how do I test it? That's our best indication, is with food coloring.
I remember reading that in the literature, but I just thought the water was so remarkably good that I thought this has to be working. I guess I will go back and do that test.
Oh, no, I appreciate it.
Anyway.
Can you call me after the show at my phone number, 877-886-3653? I'll send you a free Sport Berkey for being my first caller ever. if you'd like a Sport
You'll
Berkey.
send me a what?
A Sport Berkey water bottle to you.
Oh,
For
awesome.
being my first caller. So I really appreciate you. I'm not inviting other people to call to get a free Sport Berkey, but as a courtesy to you, Carol, I'll be happy to do that after the show, after it goes off the air in about 5 minutes.
Tell me what your number was again. I didn't have my pencil.
877-886-3653.
877-886-3653.
You got it, Carol. Yeah, I'll send it out tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanks, Carol. Have a good night.
Thank you. You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was Carol Ann. I really appreciate it. Our first caller ever. Wow, that was amazing. Really, really good information. And not just hearing it from me, but hearing it from other people. I really appreciate it, Carol Ann. I'll get that Sport Berkey out tomorrow to you. I had a couple different questions in the chat room, and I wanted to get to those. If you'd like to call in, there's still time, and I'll put you ahead of the questions in the chat room just because I can answer these questions in a couple weeks. I'll, like I said, I can only do what I can. So I said if anybody calls in, I'll be happy to take a last-minute call. But our phone number is 347-326-9604 to call into the show. But there were a couple questions. I'll be real brief on both of these. If you use contaminated water, does it contaminate the filter? You bet it does. I don't want to be rude when I say that. I apologize. But it does, yeah. A lot of the contaminants are sitting inside of the filter. It's absorbing. The carbon is absorbing the contaminants inside the filters. And so, yes, they are. And the fluoride is being captured in the PF2s and the arsenic. And so it does fill itself with contaminants in the filter. Thanks for that question, Prepared Times Mag. But one more other question right now at the moment was, how does the British Berkey compare to the Berkey systems? I need to dedicate 15 minutes to that. But I will just say briefly that they're very similar in the sense of the system size as the Big Berkey and the British Berkey filter 2¼ gallon systems. They're stainless steel. It's just the main difference is the white ceramic filters. Now, in my first show, I explained a little bit about the white ceramics, but I will do a white ceramic show or partial show and just explain the differences between the blacks and the white ceramic filters. The whites have been around, like I said last week, over 100 years, and really a great option to have. Good filters last a long time, remove a lot of contaminants to a very high level, and totally recommend them, especially for budget-wise. They're a little bit less expensive than getting the black Berkey element. But it said, somebody had said in the chat room, we're just chit-chatting about salt and fluoride, and that's correct. The black Berkeys can't do salt or fluoride, but the PF2s can do fluoride. And then arsenic can be removed or reduced with the PF2 filters. So I do want to, I've got about 5 minutes left, and if anybody does have any more questions in the chat room, just want to first of all thank everyone for listening. If you did miss our first show, I do have Sean at Prepared Times on the line. Let's take that before I head out for the night. Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Pretty good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Thanks for calling in.
All right. We have a community near where we live that has over 300 residents that have arsenic in their water that exceeds federal guidelines. And if you say it takes some of the arsenic out, how do you test the water to know that you're getting the right amount filtered out? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You can do the food coloring test. That's a simple one to make sure it's working. I can't explain it right now on the show, but I have a company that I'm working with that I'm going to be offering in the near future. Gives me a good reminder. On the website, we'll have water tests that test pH level. This basic test for about $20 is like pH level, chlorine, lead, and or other contaminants like copper, depending on if you're a well or not. But the only way to ultimately test fluoride and arsenic is actually to send it into a lab. And we're going to be offering that service in the next month or two, where we'll offer a package where I don't know exactly what the price will be, between $40 and $60. You'll get your water, and you'll have to, get your Berkey water, and you'll send it into the lab, and then it'll do the test, and then it'll send you back the results.
And their water's
that would be
coming
the
out.
Ultimate. Go ahead.
Water's coming out of the showers and in the toilets and everything. It's real brown and cloudy, and so everything it's touching, I guess, is contaminated also until you filter it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you have to. I would run it through the Berkey too, and hopefully it changes not only the taste but also the look of the water. If it doesn't change the look, then I would double check the filters and make sure the food coloring test, make sure it's working correctly. But with arsenic, it is that trickiness with arsenic. That's not as easy as the black, so it can be tricky. So.
Yeah, it's coming from the mining that they did up around here. Got into their water system somehow.
What part of the country, if you don't mind asking? You don't have to say exactly where.
Out by the Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon. Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, they did a lot of out here, and everything's contaminated out here. All the water's contaminated with something. Even Lake Mead's contaminated with pharmaceuticals that people flush down the toilet, and they have a big contamination in the Colorado River from a gas station.
Wow. Well, I apologize, Sean. I got to let you go. We got about a minute left.
Okay.
Hey, have a good night, Sean. Anywho, this show's coming to a close. Our second show next week. We will have David Armenta on Family Safe Water. I'll have his website next week. I'll have it in the show notes. Great show about water, storage. It's going to be a water storage. It's going to try to pack a whole hour in and talking about water storage. Something I don't know enough about. Hopefully, it'll be a good show for all of us. You can personally reach me at 877-886-3653 anytime. My name is Jeff. I am the Berkey guy. This is I'm signing off tonight for our second show. Next week we will be back on Tuesday, the 5th of October at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, if you have any questions about Berkeys, we do sell other preparedness products. If you have any questions specifically about Berkeys or anything that we offer, feel free to call us. Have a good night. Bye-bye.